By night, road resurfacing and a footpath upgrade is steaming ahead on the Merriweather Street level crossing, while later this month the 6th pedestrian crossing will be built across the rail line near Argyle Street, linking the CBD to the harbour. However, when it comes to the city's major project, light rail, there's limited detail. $103 million has been allocated, but when asked how it will be spent and when, the Treasurer avoided the issue.
And I think no matter where you go throughout the Hunter, there's scaffolding, there's construction happening, things are moving.
Ms Berejiklian was pressed for more detail on light rail.
Oh, well, spending or the project is already taking shape. Obviously, we're in the detailed planning stages and there'll be the expressions of interest phase as well. I think it's very exciting. I mean, we always said we would keep the community updated.
But the budget simply reads $103 million to progress construction on light rail in Newcastle to completely revitalise the CBD.
Well, until we know exactly what that $103 million is going to be used for and the Treasurer actually comes clean on what that's going to be used for, I think people are right to be suspicious about the commitment to renewal of Newcastle.
Late today, Scott McDonald, the government's Hunter representative, said the money will cover planning, design and some construction, including geotechnical work.
Dirt bike racing can be a lucrative sport, and it seems criminals are also cashing in.
It's a timely reminder to be mindful and to be conscious of the security of your own bike.
It's believed a lucrative black market has sprung up and trail bikes are the hot item.
They're $10,000 to $15,000 for a 450 dirt bike, and that's what's going missing.
They've been able to pick the lock somehow, so they've made a bit of a mess of it, and we do not know how they've done it so quietly.
Off-road racer Ricky Carlish has had 3 bikes stolen in the one night from his home at Head and Greta.
It's just low. You couldn't get any lower than that. It's completely gutted, you could say, that someone had actually been not only just taken the bikes but been in our house, in our yard, and we hadn't heard a thing.
Police say precaution is the best form of prevention.
Record the chassis number, record the engine number, maybe take a few photographs of them so that we can then, when we take reports, and heaven forbid they should be stolen, but if they are, then we have something to go by.
And with the MX Nationals happening at Raymond Terrace this weekend, competitors have been warned.
The promoter of the National Series has warned the competitors in an email that there is a spate of bike thieves in Newcastle at the moment, and to be particularly careful tomorrow night as to where they park their bikes.
Michael Kane, NBN News.
It's considered the best boutique music festival in the country, but after a 10-year stint, the Gumball won't be held this year. In its place, a much smaller event, Pigsty.
Gumball had a break this year. We did a little bit of travelling after 10 years. It'll be back next year. So for this year, we've got Pigsty in July. It's got big shoes to fill.
Tucked away in Lower Belford near Branxton, Dashville is a 100-acre property owned by the Johnson family. And when it comes to transforming bushland into party central, it's all hands on deck.
It's all family. You've got you know, the old man over there screwing stuff in, and, you know, my brother and his mate, and we're all here together. We're making it work.
Mr Johnston says many locals continue to travel elsewhere for their festival fix, unaware they can experience a similar atmosphere in their hometown.
A lot of people come to Pigsty from far distances, and Gumball. They travel, you know, up and down the coast, and they come to the Hunter Valley. You know, I think people are starting to work out that they don't need to travel that far to have a good time. You know, we've got some great events around the Hunter, and, you know, what we do here at Dashville is a pure example.
The first of 11 acts will take to the stage at midday. Emma Murphy, NBN News.
A swarm of red and blue, Danny Badiris preaches to the faithful. The next crop of Knights hopefuls hang on his every word.
Making parents understand the value of the game as well, and also the kids, and make sure that it's a healthy lifestyle for them, and just to keep turning out hopefully future Knights players.
A natural leader, today was the second clinic Badiris has held during the bye round. Some of the club's walking wounded lent a hand where they could. 17 rounds into his first season as a coach, Badiris is still grappling with the new role.
Yeah, it's got its challenges, that's for sure. Hasn't been too much fun of late, but understanding what we've got to do to get back to that stage of consistently winning games is, is priority.
4 games in the real NRL this weekend, with Souths hosting arch rivals Wests on Old Boys Day. Maitland head to Cessnock, while ladder leaders Lakes clash with Curry. On Sunday, the Butcher Boys are at home to the Scorps. In Newcastle and Hunter Rugby, Hamilton will be without their country reps when they face Southern Beaches. Singleton are on the road to Maitland. The Gropers host the Tars, while the Students could move into the top 4 with a win over the Greens. It wasn't a happy campaign. The Jets sent packing on home turf. 12 months on, a golden opportunity to atone.
Little bit of a revenge here. We lost to Perth last season in the opening round of the FFA Cup, and we certainly want to turn the tables this time.
Meanwhile, the Jets today announced their new W League head coach. Deans was a long-time assistant coach at the Jets before he was sacked last year, after which he admits he lost his ambition to coach.
I did for a little while, but I've been with the Emerging Jets now for sort of 12 months, and now that I'm back into full-time coaching, I'm loving it again.
The appointment is Deans' first foray into women's football. Ashley Wilson and Chris Bowling will be his assistants. 2 NPL matches will be played tomorrow. The Jaffers are at home to Western, and Jets Youth host the Gunners. On Sunday, Charlestown City is on the road to Adamstown. Maitland take on the Magic, while Edgeworth host Hamilton in the top-of-the-table clash.
Trying to get the red plate and to lead the championship and to win it is something I've dreamed of ever since I was a little kid. So to have it, it'd be a little bit of a sense of accomplishment.
What we understand to have happened is he's been working on a tyre when there's been a failure in the tyre which has resulted in his death.
Sophia Castro isn't your typical 17-year-old. Forget a teenager's usual distractions, this high school student is headed to Youth Parliament with a big issue to discuss.
I'm hoping to put on the agenda that domestic violence is a current issue and that it's happening to heaps of people across the state.
A month ago, she created a petition aimed at strengthening apprehended domestic violence orders and implementing tougher sanctions for re-offenders. And with the help of member for Charlestown, Jodie Harrison, she's already got just under 1,000 signatures.
My hat absolutely goes off to Sophia for feeling so passionate about this issue. Domestic violence is an issue that is receiving a lot of community concern and community feedback at the moment.
By hopefully presenting it to all the MPs, it will actually spark change within New South Wales.
Sophia was inspired to make a difference by Australian of the Year and domestic violence campaigner Rosie Batty, and today she left for Sydney to do her part.
We need more reform happening in New South Wales about domestic violence, and more needs to be done on the issue.
Vivian von Drainen, NBN News. Our reservists remembered. Today, former servicemen and women marched to recognise the work of the reserves throughout Australia's military history.
Well, a lot of them have filled in the army, regular army units. They filled in and helped fill the ranks, and a lot of them have been over and done their service overseas.
Playing a big role in today's commemoration, the Armed Forces Reenactment Unit, members dressed in uniforms from World War II. The group was formed 23 years ago to raise the profile of former and serving reservists. And this weekend, similar services are being held across the country.
These fellas, they weren't recognised early on. It was something, they were conscripted. And I think in the old days, a lot of people sort of thought if you didn't volunteer, you weren't worth worrying about.
It comes as a group of 10 prepare to travel to Borneo next month to commemorate the anniversary of the Sandakan death marches. 10 years ago, a group from Newcastle made the exact same trip.
The Japanese marched them, I think it was about 200 miles across the island, and out of 2,000 men, 6 survived. And this is the 70th anniversary of it.
Vivian von Drainen, NBN News.
It was a grand parade fit for a grand day, and from all angles there was a sight to see and hear.
We certainly tripled the population of the poor old Aberdeen at this particular time. In its early days, we didn't quite make 500 people the first time. We're up over 5,000 now by the time you get through the rest of the afternoon.
There was tartan at every turn, as the biggest attraction of all got underway, the Games. This year saw the hottest field of competitors ever assembled, including dual Olympian and defending Pacific Highland Games champion Scott Martin.
Every competition I've had so far over the last year has been really solid, so I feel good. I mean, my body feels strong. It's once you get the strength, you don't lose it.
But the champion was having a tough day at the office, lifting this 165 kilogram stone, while others managed it just.
The Highland Games is all about Scottish heritage and tradition, and for many, they wouldn't miss it for the world. And as you can see, you don't have to be a Scotsman to wear a kilt. Is it something you do every year?
Yeah, it was the first year up here. I've been doing Monday noon for the last 10 years. So first year up in Aberdeen, it's good.
Well, hopefully the next one I'll have my own tartan. That'll be great.
Michael Kane, NBN News.
My old mate again, Youthful King, he's already won it 3 times and I've won it twice on him. So, yeah, we're hoping to try and get another win again on Tuesday. I was inducted into the Hall of Fame, which absolutely over the moon about that. And then I got a Queen's Honour also. So, yeah, fabulous the last couple of months.
Old Boys Day and the Lions faithful arrived for the occasion. Mid-season recruit Arana Tamata all set to make his debut off the bench, but the Rosellas were the ones turning heads early on. Justin Smith came within a whisker before a crossfield kick from Joel Brown would find Jermaine Ale for the opener. Minutes later, Simon Williams brushed off would-be defenders to send country winger Callan Richardson down the sideline. Jared Flanagan will have nightmares after this howler, Peter Mannion scooping up the leftovers to touchdown for West's third. Arana Tamata entered the fray and the Lions began to roar. Tim Christie getting the home side on the board. Taumata's right foot step was causing problems for the Rosellas' defence. Jade Porter took matters into his own hands and earned a spell in the bin for his troubles. Joel Brown would assume all the kicking duties, but missed his target when Stephen Witters pounced. He raced 80 metres to bring the Lions to within 4 before the break. Some enterprising play and prop forward Ben Tupou was in foreign territory. Todd Hurrell offloaded to Witters, but the opportunity would die with him. West blew a chance of their own down the other end, but finally broke through midway into the half to extend their lead to 10. Ryan Petro taking advantage of some sloppy defence to crash over from short range. The game was gone for the Lions, but not before Kurt Warden put on one of the hits of the year.
Thousands turned out for the Hunter Valley Air Show, which unfortunately saw a small incident at the end of today's action with a super stall suffering a mechanical issue.
It's really not a huge deal, just when he touched down, one of the undercarriage bolts broke and it just went over on that side a little bit, so very minor, not a big deal at all. The pilot, he's no problem at all, he jumped straight out.
Earlier, all eyes were on the sky as enthusiasts took in the death-defying stunts. Civilian formation team, the Russian Roulettes, proved a hit with the crowd, while the Caribou held its own among the flashier birds.
It's great to see the public come out and support the event, and makes us feel like it's worthwhile putting the event on.
It's been more than a decade since the air show was held, and for some, it was a long wait.
It's a real shame that I have to go down to Melbourne to see air shows, and it's great to get a local air show in.
Yesterday, organisers had to cancel a much-talked-about stunt involving motorbike rider Joel Brown due to safety concerns.
It was blowing gale force winds up to 46 kilometres, so we decided to pull the pin on the stunt. I mean, it's already dangerous enough without adding that extra factor to it.
Today, conditions were better, and after a quick test run, it went off without a hitch. Meredith Gibbs, NBN News.
From tomorrow, this will be a thing of the past. New tobacco laws mean lighting up in outdoor dining areas will be illegal, something the Hunter branch of the Hotels Association and the Sydney Junction Hotel supports.
Our hotel's got an indoor playground and we're right up for the families, so it's going to benefit us.
The laws will be implemented in all hotels, clubs, restaurants and cafes in the state. They also mean smoking will be banned within 4 metres of a dining area and any pedestrian entry to a venue. For Derby Street's The Depot, it's something the business has been working towards stamping out itself for years.
Definitely doesn't affect us in a negative way. I think it's only going to probably promote more business, if anything.
The Cancer Council believes it's a big step towards breaking the habit.
More and more I think people are accepting the fact that you don't smoke in public and you certainly don't smoke around food. We know that exposure to secondhand tobacco smoke leads to a whole range of health problems like cancer, obviously respiratory disease.
Most people support the changes, but smokers aren't so thrilled.
Well, I think it's all getting a little bit ridiculous.
Being a parent, you sort of don't want your kids exposed to that at a young age.
It should have been done a long time ago.
Anyone caught flouting the rules will be looking at an on-the-spot fine of $300. Vivian von Drainen, NBN News.
Now floating on the cloud of fame, a chart at the top of a mountain slope, adversity struggling to cope. Jack's whispers now distinctly spoken, the euphoria of records broken.
Mark Wilson is a poet with passion.
I've always enjoyed writing, and I used to write stories when I was younger, but it's just I've just got the passion to do them, and I get that enjoyment when someone's achieved something.
His first works were on sporting greats, but now he covers all well-known people.
Encore. I was always coming back.
The world has embraced one of the funniest dags, raining tears in fits of laughter at his gags. One thing's for sure, when Cole Barron comes to town, the short, gandy-looking larrikin will never let you down. Yeah, I've always liked his comedy and his humour, so yeah, I got in contact with him, and I was very lucky to be able to meet him after the show. And yeah, he basically said that was the first poem that anyone's ever written to him in his whole life.
But it was this poem on a Liverpool legend which produced the most attention.
An estuary flowing on an elevated tide, the ship from Whiston sailed into Merseyside. Legs more gifted than the great king, you could hear the cathedral church bells ring.
After sending a copy to the British football powerhouse, he was surprised to hear it was to be published in their monthly magazine.
I've never had a poem published before, so that was a massive thrill for me. And the reason I did Steve Gerrard, because I'm a massive Liverpool fan, and he's someone that's been loyal to Liverpool.
And that loyalty was something this poet can relate to, representing the Newcastle Breakers in a distinguished NSL career.
Wilson has long been heralded as the team's workhorse, whose efforts go largely unnoticed. His teammates, though, don't miss them. He set up Daniel McBreen's goal on Friday night, but admits he wouldn't mind some cheer in the new year himself.
To play for your hometown was a massive buzz for me, and I wouldn't swap it for anything.
Growing up with a sister with diabetes has given Wilson an aim to one day publish a book in the hope of raising money for the disease.
My main aim has always been to donate for charity, which is diabetes. That's been the main thing that I've wanted to support. And if I can do that and help diabetes in some way through my books, then that'd be a great thrill for me as well. I love doing poems, and it's great fun, and I get a great lift out of doing them, but I'm definitely no Shakespeare or anyone, or Anjo Patterson. A life of struggle and courage and hope, a message to the world that anyone can cope. Follow your dream and believe, and be inspirational like Kurt Fernley, and definitely achieve.
Michael Kane, NBN News.
You said you weren't used to the air conditioning in the hotel, got a little bit of a sinus headache. You must have felt okay, though, to win this.
Yeah, I think I need a glass of concrete to harden up a bit. But, mate, it's great to be back here. Great to get a win. A wet race with the headwind. It's going to be a hard day for all the runners out there, but it's good to be at the finish line first.
Fresh from drawing Melbourne City in the FFA Cup, Edgeworth was looking to claim top spot in the NPL, but Olympics' Danny Ireland was proving tough to beat. The Eagles did eventually open the scoring. Brodie Taylor's shot hit the post before Keanu Moore also struck the woodwork, but Aidan Bryce made no mistake. Edgeworth then doubled its advantage as Bren Hamill teed up Taylor. The Eagles pushed for a third. Keanu Moore found a way through, but couldn't beat Ireland. Down 2-0, Hamilton was back in the game shortly after the break. A Simon Mooney free kick was spilled by Ben Smith before Jacob Bailey tapped it in. Olympic should have made it 2-2 shortly after, but Kane Goodchild only found the post. Midway through the half, Hamilton was denied again as Smith kept out Ben Coyner's effort. Eventually, it was Edgeworth that made it 3-1 as Bryce capitalised on a defensive error.
Fire for the first time in his career.
Yeah, it's been a good week so far, and yeah, one more day to go. Hopefully we can just keep doing what we're doing.
It was the hottest ticket in town, with Lego lovers of all ages flocking to Broadmeadow.
There has been a bit of a wait yesterday and the lines are long today, but we thank everybody for their patience because we understand that standing in a queue with young children for over an hour can be, quite painful, but we hope the experience was good when they got inside.
More than 30 exhibits were on display, with one paying tribute to a little piece of Newcastle history.
Kids amazed.
And that's why we do the show, to inspire children.
The miniature blocks putting big smiles on the faces of all those who attended, but the crowd was split over which one was the favourite.
The giant ship. Well, I like Tony Stark Tower over there. The big tall Avenger Tower. The massive boat over there.
But some only had eyes for Frozen. Meredith Gibbs, NBN News. It's a missing link from Glendale to Cardiff, and today a host of local, state and federal politicians celebrated the start of work.
This will be a game changer in this region.
They turned the first sod on 2 kilometres of new road and intersections.
It will not just open up traffic, but when the full project is implemented, it will be probably the major transport hub in the Hunter.
The mayors of the 11 councils agreed that this will be the #1 priority in the Hunter.
Section 1, shaded yellow, will provide a faster route between Cardiff and the Glendale retail area and sports centre, rather than taking the long way around.
There's quite a lot of traffic congestion around the Glendale-Cardiff area. What people will see after construction is that there will be a direct connection between Cardiff and Glendale.
For those people that work at Cardiff in particular, and we're looking at about 16,000, it's going to be incredible.
The project is jointly funded by the federal government, the state's Hunter Infrastructure and Investment Fund, Stockland and Lake Macquarie Council. Section 1 will be complete by the end of next year. But $35 million is still needed for the jewel in the project's crown, Section 2, shaded pink. It's a bridge over the railway line connecting to the Cardiff Industrial Estate.
The state government will consider it like any other infrastructure project on its merit, but we can't commit anything at this point.
While the Hunter Infrastructure and Investment Fund Board is considering other priorities across the region. Stage 2, which also isn't funded, is a transport interchange and railway station at Glendale.
Hoping that state and federal government will kick in for that, because it is a regional infrastructure and transport project.
Jane Goldsmith, NBN News.
As far as risk to health, all of the evidence and the advice that we're receiving is that, as far as we know at the moment, there is no increased risk to health.
It's a fishing trip Kel Stevens won't forget. This close encounter lasting 10 minutes.
I've seen a few sharks around, but nothing like that.
In an experience Kel describes as scary, the 2.5-metre shark, possibly a mako, circled his runabout just off Swansea Heads.
It was like what you see on TV when they come, and they do actually come and attack the motor. It grabbed hold of the back of the motor, and I thought, oh no.
As far as fishing stories go about the one that got away, this is a beauty. The shark snatched Kel's bag containing his entire catch. The veteran angler says he's learnt his lesson.
When you go fishing, put your fish in an esky, don't put them out the back of the boat.
In January, in almost the same spot, 2 fishermen were equally panicked when their boat was nudged. Around the same time, another pair recorded this off Blacksmiths. They had a bag of burley over the side. The regular sightings near Swansea are put down to the large numbers of bait fish at the entrance to the lake. Jane Goldsmith, NBN News. Bearing Aboriginal flags, young and old came together in Civic Park. This morning's ceremony starting a week-long celebration of Indigenous culture and history in the region.
For our community, it's just us getting out in big numbers and actually celebrating who we are as Indigenous or Aboriginal people.
The focus soon turned to Nobby's Beach Reserve, a location with strong ties to this year's NAIDOC Week theme of sacred ground.
The foreshores always, it's part of the creation story, I suppose, of the Wabikal people. And one of the stories is about Nobbies, which is about the wallaby and the kangaroo.
The windy conditions didn't stop hundreds from enjoying the day. Local musicians and traditional dancers helping to entertain the crowd. A football clinic proved especially popular with the youngsters. League great Ricky Walford on hand to offer some tips. But there was also a serious side. Free health checks were offered for the first time to help promote awareness and prevention of chronic disease.
So we can offer a bit of point-of-care testing with people already at informal environment. It just breaks down a few of the barriers that are traditionally there for Aboriginal people in healthcare.
Renee Feder, NBN News.
I think deep down everyone in the game knows Cameron Smith's a pretty decent fella. Alex is a champion bloke, as we know, and he's a little bit frustrated and angry at the moment. Maybe if Cam had his time again, he might have shown a bit more respect if he understood the circumstances.
I think every time you see him, it's hard. He could have been anything, and he was on his way, so it's hard to see him in that position, but he's strong, mate, and he'll bounce back.
The Knights have been confronted with the reality of Alex McKinnon's injury from day one, but the coach doesn't know what impact the 60-minute special will have on his side.
I'm not quite sure how the boys would have reacted. I know we're all close to Alex, some more than others, of course, and the effect it had on them, I suppose, is a little bit different for everyone.
Following the bye, the NRL squad was back at training to prepare for the trip to Canberra, missing several players due to injury or origin duty. Jared Mullen didn't train, but he will be named alongside Tyrone Roberts in the halves to face the Raiders.
We'll name him, and we think he's going to play this weekend, and that's the plan at this stage. He's been training pretty well in the last week, not 2 days in a row for him, so he'll be expected to be on deck tomorrow.
Jeremy Smith was also rested after making his comeback from a sternum injury in the New South Wales Cup yesterday.
I think he's happier for it and a bit more confident for it, and should take his place with a bit more confidence on Friday.
Cade Snowden will return from suspension, keen to make up for lost time.
Yeah, mate, it's probably the best my body's felt for probably about a month, so I'm really looking forward to it, and it's been hard watching the boys play and just getting beat.
The prop was banned for a high tackle in the clash with the Sharks, but doesn't believe he needs to change his technique.
There's not much I can do about it. Just one of those people, if I do one little thing wrong, I got the carryover point, so that's what's hurting me, but yeah, I didn't think there was much in it.
He's only had a brief look at his squad, but Scott Miller says he's more inspired than he has been in years. The former Fulham assistant believes there's plenty of potential at the Jets.
These young guys here, their attitude and application was phenomenal. I was blown away from it, you know, and by just reasserting that mentality and giving them that confidence they need, it's going to be an exciting year for these guys.
Having finalised his move from London, Miller admits he made contact with a range of possible recruits during his flying visit to the UK. With a reported $800,000 left in the salary cap, there's little room to move, but the coach is positive.
Bargains don't make sense to me, and if we're going to be challenging for the title in 2 years' time, that's our ambition. We want to build a sustainable club. It's not about bargains. It's about the right quality that want to be here and are committed to Newcastle Jets.
Miller has told former Jet Adam Taggart he's welcome to return any time, but believes his best opportunities still lie in Europe. There's more hope regarding Joel and Ryan Griffiths.
We've reviewed these guys, you know, and certainly Joel's been in discussions we've had. I see the significance Joel can have considering his style and his stature within the community and the club. They're still under review, these guys.
As for the current squad, the focus is on preparing for the FFA Cup's round of 32.
That Perth Glory fixture for us is of massive importance. It's a chance for the fans to see us for the first time and for me to get an understanding of the competitiveness within the squad.
It's a battle that's been drawn out for half a decade, and now Bulga residents say they're cautiously optimistic about stopping the Mount Thorley Warkworth mine extension.
I don't think that we want to be celebrating. At the moment we haven't won anything. We have a small gap or chink in the armour which we hope will be exploited.
A stance that's not surprising, considering it's a battle they thought they'd previously won, twice. the state government has moved to amend planning policy so that the economic impacts of any mining development will no longer be the principal consideration. Following the Planning Assessment Commission's hearings in Singleton last week, all residents can do now is wait.
They now have Rob Stokes' desire to amend the mining SEPP, and they have to take that into consideration in their deliberations. So we're hoping that they will, and that they can see that this is the intent of the government to restore the balance, and that they will restore the balance by rejecting this proposal.
The Managing Director of Rio Tinto Coal Australia says regardless of the changes, there is a clear and compelling case to allow mining to continue at Mount Thorley Warkworth. Meanwhile, winemaker Andrew Margan is pushing for Hunter Vineyards owned by AGL to be protected from CSG activity in the future, after the company agreed to sell its coal seam gas licences in the region back to the state government.
They were just caretakers, and those vineyards have been there for a long time, and they're part of our critical industry cluster, if you like, and they're supposed to be mapped, and hopefully they'll go onto the map now.
Emma Murphy, NBN News.
It's been a year in the making and is worth close to $1 million. This recompression chamber is now headed for PNG's Navy. Built by Cowan Manufacturing, the machine is used to help divers whose condition might improve through hyperbaric oxygen treatment.
Technology changes. Diving doesn't change a great deal. Some of it's now going to computerised systems.
The firm has never been busier as it meets contractual obligations to the Australian and US military. Bob Cowan is also the chairman of the Hunter Manufacturers Association and believes many local companies are just as good as their overseas competitors. He says they shouldn't sell themselves short when it comes to the global market.
I've never ever seen it this bad. However, we've got to become smarter. The problem with Australian companies, we don't sell ourselves at all. We need to get out there and promote.
Michael Kane, NBN News.
The new structure behind us is a new residential complex, as well as the new police station going down the road, plus the new towers right on the waterfront are a great opportunity for Belmont.
Trent Hodkinson is the man the Knights believe can get them back to playing football in September. Yesterday, he agreed to a 3-year deal worth close to $1.8 million.
Can't wait. I spoke to him a couple of times on the camp, and he's a really good fella, and he takes a lot of control in the Origin camps, and From what I saw, I can't wait till he comes over next year.
Tyrone Roberts will return from an ankle injury this weekend, but his future in red and blue appears far from secure. The club hopes Hodkinson's arrival will ease pressure on Jared Mullen.
I'm a bit cruisy out in the field, so it'd be good to have him out there to sort of help me along. But no, it'll be good. Like I said, he's a quality player and he's the origin halfback, so it's a good coup for the club.
Mullen has declared himself fit for Friday night's clash, but his toe injury remains an ongoing issue.
This is sort of the last roll of the dice, and I don't want to keep sort of dragging it on because it probably does need surgery at the end of the year, but if I can push on to the end of the year and get it done then, that's the best case scenario.
The reshuffle in the halves will see Jake Mamo make way for Kurt Gidley at fullback. Don't be surprised if Sione Matautia plays a little wider this weekend. He was troubled defensively at left centre against the Broncos.
Oh, it's a bit up and down with me. It's 2 steps back, 1 step forward. I'm still learning the positional game at centre.
Spending a week in camp with the Blues has done wonders for his confidence.
Every training session was like a game to me. I come out a bit sore, and it's very physical and very intense training sessions.
Paddy Kilmurray, NBN News.
It's been 2 months since the last development series round, but Aaron Russell's day job has kept him busy. This weekend, he'll switch his focus back to driving as he heads to round 4 in Townsville.
Last year we had a 4th, and then we had a few incidents in the second race, which were my fault. I stick my hand up for them. But, I've learnt so much in 12 months.
Russell is now consistently inside the top 10, but changes to the series for next year, allowing the current generation supercars into the category, have put the future of his team in doubt.
We're not sure if we're racing or if we're not. The car of the future is allowed in our series, and it's a big cost, trying to buy a car, which is something we probably don't have the money for.
Aaron's dream is still to earn a drive with a top-tier V8 team, but for the rest of this season, the goal is simple.
I want to stand on the podium again. It's been a long time since I sprayed the champagne.
These are my group ones, mate, here in my home backyard, and to team up with Jeremy and the horse again, it's unbelievable, yeah.